Stop scrolling for just a moment, because what I'm about to say might explain your entire life. A few weeks ago, my team and I were studying thousands of stories. We analyzed the habits of entrepreneurs who built empires from nothing, artists who changed the world after years of rejection, athletes who were overlooked before becoming champions, and ordinary people who somehow achieved extraordinary lives. We searched for patterns, something invisible that separated those who stayed average from those who eventually became impossible to ignore. Then something unexpected happened. The same pattern kept appearing again and again, and when I compared that pattern with people who were still struggling, but were secretly on the edge of a breakthrough, I realized something that stopped me in my tracks. If you're still listening, there's a reason. Because the signs point towards someone exactly like you, not because you're lucky, not because the universe randomly chose favorites, but because the way you've survived, the way you've kept moving despite disappointment, the way you've continued searching even after countless reasons to quit. Those aren't ordinary behaviors. They're evidence that you're carrying something most people lose long before success arrives. Let me explain. Most people believe success begins the day they finally win. That's completely backward. Success begins the day a person refuses to let failure define their identity. Think about that. Every successful person you've ever admired lived through seasons where nothing made sense. They questioned themselves. They wondered if they were wasting years of their lives. They watched other people move ahead while they stood still. From the outside, it looked like they were losing. From the inside, they were becoming someone capable of handling the life they would eventually receive. That's the part nobody celebrates. Everyone wants the trophy. Nobody wants the training. Everyone wants the spotlight. Nobody wants the lonely nights where belief is the only thing keeping them alive. My team noticed something remarkable. The people who eventually transformed their lives weren't always the most talented. They weren't always the smartest. They rarely had the perfect beginning. What they possessed was something much more valuable. They developed an identity that refused to negotiate with temporary circumstances. When life whispered, "Give up," they answered, "Not yet." When rejection said, "You're not enough," they quietly replied, "Watch me grow." When fear shouted, "Play it safe," they chose progress over comfort. That decision changed everything. Here's what most people never realize. Your future isn't created by the biggest decision you'll ever make. It's created by the smallest decision you repeat every single day. Every morning you decide whether your past gets to speak louder than your future. Every afternoon you decide whether excuses become your identity or your obstacle. Every evening you decide whether today's disappointment becomes tomorrow's lesson. Those tiny decisions are writing the story of your life. And stories, unlike circumstances, can always be rewritten. Imagine standing at the edge of a mountain before sunrise. The sky is completely dark. Anyone looking at the horizon would swear the sun isn't coming. But the darkness isn't proof that the sunrise doesn't exist. It's proof that the sunrise hasn't arrived yet. That's where most people quit. They mistake not yet for never. Don't make that mistake, because timing has fooled more dreamers than failure ever has. You see, confidence isn't born after success. Confidence is built before success ever appears. It's forged every time you keep your promise to yourself. It's strengthened every time you continue after disappointment. It's reinforced every time you refuse to let someone else's opinion become your reality. Eventually, confidence stops being something you feel. It becomes someone you are. That's when everything changes, because opportunities don't just respond to talent. They respond to certainty. The world notices people who walk as though they already belong where they're going. Not because they're arrogant, because they're prepared. There's a massive difference. Arrogance says, "I'm better than everyone." Confidence says, "I'm becoming better than yesterday." One compares, the other grows. Choose growth. Always choose growth. The biggest lie ever sold to ambitious people is that your environment determines your destiny. It influences you, yes. It challenges you, absolutely. But it does not get the final vote. History has never belonged exclusively to those who were born in the right city, attended the best schools, or inherited the greatest opportunities. History remembers the people who looked at impossible circumstances and quietly decided, "This story will not end here. My team kept finding that exact decision hidden inside every remarkable journey we studied. Before there was recognition, there was resistance. Before there was wealth, there was discipline. Before there was influence, there were thousands of invisible moments when nobody was watching. Those moments never make headlines, yet they are where greatness is actually built. Think about a diamond buried miles beneath the earth. It doesn't become valuable because someone suddenly notices it. Its value exists long before anyone discovers it. Pressure doesn't destroy the diamond. Pressure reveals it. The same principle applies to your life. Maybe you've been interpreting pressure as evidence that life is against you. What if it's evidence that life is shaping you into someone capable of carrying more responsibility, more opportunity, and more abundance than you can currently imagine? The weight you're carrying today may not be a punishment. It may be preparation. My team also noticed another pattern that almost nobody talks about. The people who eventually reached extraordinary success stopped asking, "How do I get more?" and started asking, "Who must I become?" That's a completely different question. Anyone can chase money. Anyone can chase status. Anyone can chase applause. But those things are temporary. Identity is permanent. If you become the kind of person who naturally creates value, wealth stops being an accident. It becomes a consequence. Success stops being a lucky event. It becomes your standard. There comes a moment in every person's life when excuses become heavier than discipline. Most people never recognize that moment. They keep carrying stories that no longer serve them. I wasn't born into the right family. I started too late. Someone else already did what I wanted to do. I'm not talented enough. Those sentences feel harmless until you realize they become invisible walls around your potential. Every excuse you repeat becomes another brick in a prison you built yourself. The remarkable people my team studied all had one thing in common. They demolished those walls before anyone else believed they could. Listen carefully, because this may be the most important thing you'll hear today. Your mind believes whatever you repeatedly feed it. If every morning you remind yourself of your failures, your brain begins searching for more evidence that you cannot succeed. But if every morning you remind yourself that you are learning, adapting, growing, and becoming stronger, your brain starts searching for opportunities instead of obstacles. The world itself doesn't change overnight, your perception does, and perception changes decisions. Decisions change habits, habits change identity, identity changes destiny. Have you ever watched an eagle rise into the sky during a storm? Small birds hide when powerful winds arrive. The eagle does something different. It spreads its wings and allows the storm to lift it higher than it could have flown on a calm day. The very force that terrifies everyone else becomes the force that elevates it. That image stayed with me because it's exactly how successful people think. They don't pray for easier circumstances. They become stronger people. They don't fear competition because they know competition sharpens excellence. They don't fear failure because they understand failure is information, not identity. Imagine meeting the version of yourself 5 years from now. Not the version who settled. Not the version who surrendered. The version who stayed committed when quitting would have been easier. What would that future self tell you? They wouldn't tell you that success was comfortable. They wouldn't tell you every decision was obvious. They would probably smile and say, "Thank you for not stopping. Thank you for enduring the uncertainty. Thank you for believing before there was evidence. Every blessing I'm living today exists because you refused to give up yesterday." That conversation doesn't exist only in your imagination. In many ways, you're creating it right now. Every action you take today is writing a letter to your future self. The question is simple. Will that letter be filled with regret or gratitude? Will tomorrow's version of you thank you for staying focused, or wonder why you traded your biggest dreams for temporary comfort? Greatness is rarely stolen from people. More often, it is quietly exchanged for convenience. Here's another discovery that completely changed the way I think about achievement. The most successful individuals don't wait until they feel motivated. They move first, and motivation catches up later. That's because emotions are unreliable leaders. Some mornings you'll wake up inspired. Other mornings you'll wake up uncertain, tired, or discouraged. If your actions depend on your feelings, your future will always be unpredictable. But when your actions are guided by commitment instead of emotion, consistency becomes unstoppable. Discipline is simply the ability to remember what you want most, instead of what you want right now. From this day forward, stop introducing yourself by your current circumstances. You are not your bank balance. You are not yesterday's rejection. You are not the criticism someone threw at you during your weakest season. Those are events. They are not your identity. Introduce yourself through your vision. Introduce yourself through your values. Introduce yourself through the person you are relentlessly becoming. The world may see where you stand today, but your decisions determine where you'll stand tomorrow. There is something else my team uncovered that surprised even me. The people who changed their lives forever all experienced a season where it looked like absolutely nothing was happening. Imagine planting a seed in the middle of a vast field. Day after day you water the soil, yet the surface remains empty. If you judged only by what your eyes could see, you would assume your effort was wasted. But beneath the ground, where nobody is applauding, the roots are spreading in silence. They are growing deeper before the tree ever grows taller. Nature understands a principle that most people ignore. What is built below determines what can survive above. Your invisible season is not your weakest season. It is the season that determines the strength of everything that follows. The world celebrates visible success, but invisible growth is where legends are created. Every book you read when nobody asked you to. Every skill you practiced when no one was paying attention. Every morning you chose discipline over distraction. Every evening you refused to surrender to self-doubt. Those moments are depositing something into an account that cannot be measured by likes, followers, or applause. They are building internal wealth. And internal wealth always comes before external wealth. My team kept asking one question: why do some people rise after devastating setbacks while others never recover? The answer wasn't intelligence, it wasn't luck, it wasn't privilege, it was meaning. The strongest people gave their struggles a purpose. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" they asked, "What is this preparing me for?" That single shift transformed pain into power. When suffering has meaning, it becomes fuel. When it has no meaning, it becomes a prison. Never underestimate the stories you tell yourself in private. Those conversations become your reality. If you constantly whisper, "I'm behind," your mind will find proof that you're losing. If you whisper, "I'm still becoming," your mind begins searching for opportunities that others overlook. Words are not just sounds. They are instructions. Your subconscious is always listening. Feed it courage, and it produces confidence. Feed it fear, and it manufactures limitations. Picture an architect standing in front of an empty piece of land. To everyone else, it's just dirt. But in the architect's mind, there is already a masterpiece. The walls exist before they're built. The rooms exist before they're furnished. The vision comes first, the structure follows. Your future works the same way. If you cannot see possibility in your imagination, you will never create it in reality. Every empire was invisible before it became visible. Every breakthrough was impossible before it became obvious. That is why vision is one of the greatest forms of wealth. A person with money but no vision eventually loses both. A person with vision but no money often finds a way to create abundance because their greatest asset is not in their wallet, it's in their mind. The marketplace rewards people who solve problems, create value, and refuse to stop learning. Wealth is attracted to usefulness. The more value you bring into the lives of others, the more opportunities begin searching for you. My team also noticed that extraordinary people protect their attention as if it were gold. They understand that attention is the currency of the modern world. Wherever your attention goes, your future follows. If your attention is consumed by comparison, your confidence slowly disappears. If it's consumed by fear, your creativity begins to shrink. But if your attention is invested in growth, learning, and purposeful action, your life starts expanding in ways that once seemed impossible. Ask yourself an uncomfortable question. Who are you becoming because of what you consume every single day? Every video you watch, every conversation you entertain, every thought you repeat is shaping the architecture of your mind. You don't wake up one morning with a powerful mindset by accident. You build it one decision at a time, brick by brick, choice by choice, day after day. There will always be voices that tell you to lower your expectations. They'll call your ambition unrealistic. They'll say you're aiming too high. Understand this. People often project the limits they accepted onto those who refuse to accept them. Don't confuse someone else's ceiling with your own. The fact that they couldn't see a path doesn't mean one doesn't exist. Every innovation, every business, every movement that changed the world began as an idea that someone else dismissed. I want you to remember this quote because it has the power to change the way you see yourself forever. Your future is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for preparation. Read that again in your mind. Your future does not need permission from your critics. It does not need approval from your past. It does not need validation from people who never believed in you. It is simply waiting for you to become the person who can carry it with wisdom, discipline, and courage. One day, you'll look back at this season, the uncertainty, the frustration, the unanswered questions, and you'll realize it was never designed to break you. It was designed to reveal you. The pressure exposed strengths you didn't know you possessed. The delays taught patience that success alone could never teach. The setbacks developed resilience that no classroom could ever provide. Every challenge became another layer of your foundation, and perhaps that's what my team truly found about you. Not that you're perfect, not that your path will be easy, but that there's a rare pattern in people who refuse to let circumstances define their identity. They carry a quiet determination. They keep moving when no one is cheering. They continue building when the results are invisible. They understand that extraordinary lives are not created in moments of comfort. They are forged in seasons of persistence. So don't rush your story. Don't compare your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Don't abandon the dream simply because the process is taking longer than you expected. The strongest trees grow slowly. The tallest buildings require the deepest foundations. And the people who leave the greatest legacy almost always spend years becoming invisible before the world finally notices them. Maybe that's where you are today, invisible, underrated, questioned, misunderstood. But remember this, being unseen is not the same as being unimportant. Sometimes the greatest transformation happens where no audience exists. Sometimes destiny does its finest work behind closed doors, long before the spotlight ever turns on. And when your moment finally arrives, people will call it luck. They will say you appeared overnight. They will never see the thousands of disciplined choices, the silent battles, the lonely mornings, and the relentless belief that made that overnight success possible. That's why you must keep going. Because the version of you that refuses to quit is already becoming the person your future has been waiting for. Then my team discovered one final pattern. And I want you to hear this with complete attention, because this is where almost everyone gets it wrong. The people who eventually changed their lives did not receive a different 24 hours than everyone else. They did not wake up with more time. They did not magically eliminate fear. They simply stopped negotiating with the version of themselves that always wanted to wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow is one of the most expensive words ever invented. Tomorrow has stolen more dreams than failure. Tomorrow has destroyed more businesses than bankruptcy. Tomorrow has buried more potential than rejection ever could. Every masterpiece that exists today began on a day when someone decided that later was no longer acceptable. That decision is available to you right now. Imagine standing at the entrance of two roads. One road is smooth, predictable, and comfortable. Millions of people walk it every single day. It asks nothing from you except that you stay the same. The other road is uncertain. It demands discipline. It demands courage. It demands sacrifice. There are moments when you'll question whether you're making the right choice. But here's what my team found. The first road protects your comfort while quietly stealing your future. The second road challenges your comfort while creating your future. Every extraordinary life is simply the result of choosing the second road enough times that it becomes your identity. Success is never one giant leap. It is thousands of invisible victories stacked on top of one another. One more page read, one more workout completed, one more difficult conversation, one more skill mastered, one more promise kept to yourself. These actions appear insignificant in isolation, but over months and years, they create a person who no longer recognizes the version they used to be. That is the real miracle, not instant transformation. Consistent transformation. People often ask me, when did everything finally change? They're expecting me to describe one incredible opportunity, one lucky phone call, one perfect investment, one breakthrough moment. But the truth disappoints people because it's much simpler. Everything changed the moment I stopped expecting my future to rescue me and accepted that I had to rescue my future. Ride that again. Your future is not coming to save you. You are becoming the person who saves your future. There is incredible freedom in understanding that, because if your future depends only on luck, you're powerless. If it depends only on circumstances, you're trapped. But if it depends on the person you're becoming every single day, then your power returns to you. That is where confidence is born, not from guarantees, from ownership. Ownership changes everything. Victims ask, who is responsible for this? Leaders ask, what can I do next? Victims wait for perfect conditions. Leaders create momentum in imperfect conditions. Victims focus on what they've lost. Leaders focus on what they can still build. Notice the difference. The circumstances may look identical. The mindset is completely different. My team found that successful people are obsessed with momentum. They understand that momentum is more valuable than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Momentum compounds. Once you're moving, staying in motion becomes easier than starting over. That's why you cannot underestimate today's small actions, the workout you almost skipped, the business idea you almost abandoned, the book you almost didn't finish, the phone call you almost didn't make. Those moments don't seem life-changing, until one day you realize your entire life changed because of them. History rarely announces itself while it's happening. The biggest opportunities often arrive disguised as ordinary days. That's why preparation matters, because opportunity has a strange habit of visiting people who already look ready. Here's another truth my team couldn't ignore. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards expressed potential. Millions of people have brilliant ideas. Thousands act on them. Hundreds stay consistent. A handful refuse to quit. That's where extraordinary results are born. Not in talent, in endurance. Talent might open a door. Character determines whether you stay inside the room. Skill might earn respect. Integrity earns trust. Confidence may attract opportunities. Discipline transforms opportunities into legacies. Never confuse starting fast with finishing strong. Anyone can be excited for a week. Anyone can stay motivated for a month. Very few people can remain committed for years when nobody knows their name. Become one of those people, because once you master consistency, the game changes forever. You'll stop competing with everyone else. You'll only compete with the person you were yesterday. And that competition has no limits. One day you'll wake up and realize that your standards have become stronger than your excuses. Your habits have become stronger than your emotions. Your vision has become stronger than your fear. That day will look ordinary to everyone else, but it will be extraordinary to you because you'll understand something that most people never do. Successes isn't a destination you finally reach. It's a person you gradually become. Maybe that's why you're hearing these words today. Not because life accidentally brought you here, but because somewhere deep inside you, there's a version of yourself that's tired of playing small, a version that's tired of asking for permission, a version that's tired of waiting for confidence before taking action. That version is knocking on the door of your mind right now. The only question is, will you answer? Because years from now, people will see your confidence and assume you were always fearless. They'll admire your success without understanding your sacrifices. They'll celebrate your victories without witnessing your lonely nights. They'll call you fortunate because they never saw your discipline. But you'll know the truth. You'll remember this season. You'll remember the days when you chose faith over fear, action over excuses, growth over comfort, vision over distraction, and in that moment you'll smile, not because the journey was easy, but because you became someone capable of achieving what once felt impossible. So stand up, lift your eyes, protect your vision, guard your mindset, honor your potential, and never forget this. My team didn't find someone who was finished. We found someone who was just getting started. The next chapter of your life isn't waiting for permission from the world. It's waiting for a decision from you. Make that decision today. And never look back. This is where our conversation ends, but where your transformation begins. One day, years from now, you'll look back at this exact moment. Not because this was the day everything around you changed, but because this was the day everything inside you changed. You'll remember that there was a version of you who was afraid to dream bigger, A version of you who questioned your worth, doubted your ability, and wondered if your best days had already passed. But you'll also remember the moment you made a decision that your future would no longer be determined by your past. Because the truth is, your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. Every setback you've endured has given you wisdom, every failure has given you experience, every disappointment has given you resilience. Every obstacle has quietly prepared you for opportunities you couldn't yet see. Nothing you've survived was wasted. It was all building the person you are becoming. My team may have found something about you, but ultimately the greatest discovery must come from you. You must discover that your greatest investment is your mindset. You must discover that your greatest competition is the person you were yesterday. You must discover that your greatest limitation has never been your circumstances. It has been the story you've been telling yourself. Starting today, tell a different story. Tell the story of someone who refuses to settle. Tell the story of someone who keeps their promises even when nobody is watching. Tell the story of someone who turns rejection into redirection, pressure into purpose, fear into fuel, and dreams into disciplined action. Because life rewards those who continue building long after everyone else has stopped believing. Remember this. Your future doesn't need a miracle. It needs your commitment. Your dreams don't need perfect timing. They need consistent action. Your potential doesn't need permission. It needs courage. The world has enough people waiting for the perfect moment. Become the person who creates it. Wake up with intention, work with excellence, learn with humility, lead with integrity. Protect your peace. Expand your vision, honor your word. And every single day become 1% stronger than the person you were yesterday. There will be days when progress feels invisible. Keep going. There will be days when doubt speaks louder than confidence. Keep going. There will be days when nobody believes in your vision. Keep going, because the greatest breakthroughs often happen just after the moment most people decide to quit. Never let temporary pain convince you to abandon a permanent purpose. Never trade your destiny for comfort. Never allow someone else's limited imagination to define what's possible for your life. You were not created to live on the sidelines of your own story. You were created to build, to grow, to lead, to inspire, and to leave a legacy that outlives you. So when you leave this video, don't just feel inspired. Become disciplined. Don't just believe more. Act more. Don't just imagine a better future. Build it brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day. Because success is not reserved for the lucky. Greatness is not reserved for the gifted. Extraordinary lives are built by ordinary people who make extraordinary commitments and refuse to break them. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This is your chapter. Walk into it with courage. Walk into it with faith. Walk into it with relentless determination. And no matter how difficult the road becomes, remember these words. The person you've been waiting for has been staring back at you in the mirror all along. Asterisk, now go become the proof that discipline defeats doubt, vision defeats fear, and perseverance defeats every obstacle that stands between you and the life you were born to create. Your story isn't over. In many ways, it's only just beginning.